decided to go back to where the dwarves live, because that was going to be the least impossible way to get to where the elves are. And on the way, Tabarin found a tree, and then he did something to the tree after I told him not to, and a little tree man hatched in his backpack, and now it appears to be Tabarin's friend. And then Harbeck decided that he wanted a friend, so now he talks to a rock. And now we are camping in a cave, even though the forest is safer. The end.
Pretty much covers everything, I think. Pretty much covers everything. All right, you've camped out. I need perception checks from Gargantius, Tabarin, Din, and Brig, I guess.
Wrong order.
I got super good at perception checks.
Oh, that's right.
Minimum is.
Oh yeah, your minimum
is now
Because
20.
I was tired of being the most useless scout in the history of mankind.
Now you
super
passed down the
stealthy.
title to me.
Okay, the night passes without incident. There are no dramas. No unusual creatures, no sightings of any other humanoids or dangerous things. And morning comes around. You feel pretty thrilled with yourselves. Harbeck cooked a lovely meal last night with the herbs that Din provided him. And so you're all feeling very satisfied. And you're at the mouth of the cave. What is the party going to do next?
Walk more.
Walk more? You're just going to head into the cave?
Well, we have to get back
Does
to
the cave lead to somewhere?
The cave is how you
leads
get under
us
the mountains.
Through the lure.
Yeah,
we're back to where. Remember that time when you
Oh,
didn't
we're
lead
here?
us through the cave very well? It's that cave.
Oh, we're here. Okay, I was looking at the map and where the token was, and I was like, oh, we didn't
Yeah,
move
no.
that far.
We're done there. I just haven't moved yet.
Let's go. I pretty much remember the way. It hasn't been that long.
That's what you said the first time we walked into this cave.
Hey, no, it was a year at least. Now it's been a few weeks. I should know better.
Okay.
We could follow the dead bodies, you know.
That's actually not a bad idea.
So, that is if the goblins didn't clean them up, because, I mean, I would imagine they would have cleaned. Let's go that way.
Okay, heading out of the mountains. While
Heading
you
into
travel,
the mountains.
While you travel, is there anything that any of the party members are wanting to do or discuss during today's travels?
We're going to the
don't touch the
goblin city,
mushrooms.
right?
Well, you're going to be going past the goblins. They're not far into the entrance. Excuse me.
But are we going to go visit them?
Fought my way here to the Goblin City.
I am becoming increasingly concerned about my dear friend Harbeck. I'm going to keep an eye on him today.
Okay.
Mash. I think.
Maybe you
Also, I'm
can
gonna practice-
find a sentient rock that will be his friend.
I'm going to practice my
Does it
dance,
doesn't
magic
have to be a
dance,
rock.
magic dance, jump, magic jump, because I assume we're about to meet a Goblin King.
That's if they
Because
still
we fought
remember
our way
that they
through the
decided
labyrinth
to
to the
invite
Goblin
him to
City.
drinks with us.
Well, the party has yet
Who's
to
probably
decide
saying
whether or
right?
not
The Goblin King, obviously.
the Goblin
Clearly.
Kings,
Clearly.
Obviously.
obviously.
We should probably decide that.
Yeah, you haven't actually discussed or decided whether or not you want to stop over and take up the goblin people's offer of a tour of their establishment and to meet
If you
them.
want to.
Perhaps we take a
we're
day.
here. Seems unlikely we're going to be passing through here again, so I think we should
Yeah,
take
why
a
not?
Yeah. Why not?
Maybe
Take a day
they know
and see if
something
they'll-
about things.
They are close to the exit of the cave, and maybe they've encountered some of the
Maybe they
controls
know a
creatures.
really
We're
direct
talking
route.
about
Maybe the
that live here.
some of the
A more direct route than maybe the one we took through the cave the first time.
yeah.
Maybe not one through one of those lizards that almost killed Prince Storm and us.
We killed it.
Yeah. Maybe not having to kill another one, because that was a little rough.
Babs is immune to it now. She could just hug it to death.
But I don't. Sure. Okay. So off
Sorry,
to the
1 second.
goblin.
You get a grapple bonus if you're small compared to it being huge, right?
No, the opposite.
The
It's
opposite.
easier to grapple a
rats.
small thing.
Yeah. You just.
Then
you
it
know,
might be
bear hug
still
it to
hard
death.
to hug it to death, but I would try. The goblins!
Do I need I remember how we got here roll? Like, directions?
No,
I
it's a
think
straight
if we
shot
have
through.
a dwarf, doesn't he have like perfect memory of under
He does.
mountains?
I-
or something
Underground.
like that?
Harvick remembers everything.
Is that still a thing in 5e? Felt
I
like
have
it
no
maybe
idea.
wasn't.
Oh, maybe not.
But I don't know. It could be, and I don't remember.
Getting to the goblins' realm is a straight shot anyway. There were no twisty, windy passages. You follow the main passage and you'll get to where they are.
Okay.
That's true, Babs. I've nearly done it a few times. Right. So you travel down the passage. It's only an hour or so into the mountain before you're going to come across the entrance to the goblins' realm. What's the plan? What's the party going to do?
If we're
Stop in,
going to
say
be
hi.
stopped by guards, obviously, and if the guards do not remember us, we might be SOL, but we'll have to converse from there.
What are the chances they're gonna not remember us?
If
be a
it's a
different-
different set of guards, they won't remember us.
We were somewhat
I
memorable.
kinda hope it is a different
suspect the
set
story has
because
been passed
we-
around.
Yeah.
We
You
stole
probably
their
have
clothes.
wanted
Yeah, I
posters of
remember
us
that
somewhere.
part. I had to talk them down, but yeah.
Okay. You travel for the hour or so it takes you to get to where you're going, and you round a corner and head up a corridor, and you see two goblins wearing the same armor that they were wearing. You can't really tell goblins apart that well, being that you're not a member of their species, and let's be real,
We're
you
so
don't...
racist. Our whole party is racist.
You don't.
They all look the same.
When was the last time you tried to tell two goblins apart before you smashed them in the face with whatever it is you
Nope.
hit goblins with?
The way you tell
No.
goblins apart is you look at their equipment, and
how
that one's
many
an
weeks
archer,
ago
and
did
that
we
one
meet 'em?
has a sword, and so we want to kill the archer in melee and the sword from range, and that's how you tell them apart.
Yeah. And if any of them have a
I tell them
staff,
apart like
that one
that
dies
one's
first.
dead and that one's still alive, so I'm
Right.
gonna attack the still alive one.
And this
Alright,
is definitely
the point
not
is
an
they're not
in-character conversation we should have in the
discernible,
hearing
and-
of the guards, because that is how we upset them so badly the first time.
This is very true.
I'll do like a bow in front of the guards and say, nice to meet you all again. We're here to take you up on your offer of a, tour and a beer. Well, beer is more for Harvick, but,
I think last time we told them apart because one was wearing fancier clothes than the others.
One had
One of the
clothes and the
goblins was
rest
wearing
we
fancy
stole
clothes.
clothes from.
Now, in my defense, that is how I actually tell humans apart. So,
I hope the goblins are laughing at that joke.
All species. look the same to you.
All right. So you get to the front, and Gintius bows and says that you're there to take them up on the offer. They remove their helmets, which are finely crafted pieces of metalwork, and they say, "We'll just fetch you a guide. Wait here."
All right.
And they
then.
both enter into the stone corridor, and it quickly turns a corner, and you lose sight of them.
Now, I realise that this is going to make me sound like an awful person, but I feel like we should still be on our guard here. We don't know anything about these folks, except that they're goblins.
I kind of want to get an insight check on as he left and when he said, "I'll fetch you a guide." Like, does he know about this agreement, or is he up to some trickery?
Shenanigans.
Tabern, after you've... Yeah, well, that's a great insight check. No, he appeared to be genuine and honest, absolutely. But Tabern and Brieg, you guys can both roll perception checks.
Oh, while they're doing that, I would like to remind everyone here that these are civilized goblins. Let's try and be respectful and civilized. Be very nice. Also, don't want to insult anybody. Like we did last time, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk us out of, say, death if we insult the wrong person.
We don't talk our way out of death. We death our way out of death.
Right, that's exactly the kind of talk that got us in trouble last time.
That's exactly the kind of talk that makes me...
That was quite a wise reminder. But we were all here, and we remember being quite stupid about these goblins.
Yeah.
Brieg, you don't spot anything particularly fancy. Tabern, I have messaged you.
I think I just failed a spot check.
They're being... I have a hunch they're being controlled.
Controlled? I didn't see any green gems on them.
No, they had some sort of collar on their neck, fairly well hidden.
What was the color of the gem?
No gem. It was silvery, black, and white.
This is a terrible idea. Perhaps we should
Maybe it's
just
just
continue on our way.
jewelry.
Maybe we need to
We
free
can't
them.
just assume all jewelry mind controls people.
Is it?
What if their civilization
What is
is
the
an
last
effective
time you've
control
seen
exerted by
civil-
something more devious?
We knew
I
something was
feel
up
like
with
we're
this
being a
before.
little too cynical here, and if we're too cynical, we might insult somebody.
Were you paying attention the last few days?
I don't know. I remember the last time we were here, we nearly got into an encounter with some cool goblins.
With some goblins who may be being mind controlled into civilization.
Is that a bad thing?
If we had time to wax a bit philosophical, which perhaps we don't, might be an interesting question about the moral goodness of taking wild goblins and civilizing them. Perhaps this bears further investigation, because why would you go to the effort to civilize goblins? Probably to use them for something nefarious, is my guess. and we should play along and investigate, I think.
But if you're trying to destroy a hornet's nest, is it best to disguise your way into the center of that hornet's nest and then make them all really pissed off?
I think it's best to set it on fire from a distance.
What if
We're
they're
not
not
sure it's
hornets
a
at all?
hornet's nest.
What
I
if
think
it's a honeybee place and they have honey for us?
We disguise our way in,
goblins.
and we disguise our way back out, and then we set it on fire from the outside.
If you
Guys.
suspect it's a hornet's nest, is it really a good idea to crawl inside of it?
Right, that's where the metaphor breaks down,
Stop
because
talking about this.
these are sentient beings.
They're going to walk
Maybe
up on
we
us
should just
any second now on this
ask 'em.
conversation, and it's going to look horrible.
So that we all have context now, and if we keep every sentence understandable only within that context, then anyone who walks up might think we're talking about anything.
Like hornets.
If these are smart goblins, they're going to know.
Maybe we should just ask the smart goblins if they are being controlled and would like to continue to be controlled.
Maybe not word it that way, or
Then somebody else better ask.
Let's get a lay of the land first before we start jumping the gun here. Maybe
It's a
we'll
cave.
say, hey, this is our tradition of wearing silver necklaces with black on it. You know, it's the first goblin
But
that
what if they only
became
say that because they're
intelligent.
being mind controlled?
We'll never know, or we'll never know.
Well,
It's either it ends badly or it ends well.
I've got a
Finn's having an
plan.
existential crisis. There's no way to
If
solve
I
this
might-
puzzle.
If I might pose a more pragmatic question, if there's any risk here at all, do we think that it's worth taking the time to investigate, considering the enormity of our other pressing issues?
Good point. Should we even go inside if you guys are planning on killing every goblin before even talking to them?
That's not what I said.
Tavern. Tavern.
Yes. I cast this before they get back with the intention of understanding when they get back if these collars have any magical property.
Yeah, sure. You guys will hear them clanking up the hallway in their metal armor. Tavern, you cast detect magic before they get there. You detect magic. Oh boy, do you detect magic. Around their necks, where you saw the marking or whatever it was that was on their neck, it was hard to see what it was, but around their necks is a brilliant glow of divine magic. It reminds you a lot of other objects that you have found recently. For instance, the book would be one such object. The weird crystal thing in Brieg's back would be another such object. Harbeck's beard.
Divine magic,
and Din's
because only a
tattoo.
god would go to the trouble of civilizing goblins.
I have an idea.
You
no one
also
else.
detect illusion magic emanating from all over the goblins.
Pardon us for a moment. We'll return in just a few minutes. Harbeck, Brieg, Din, Gintius, let's have a word.
Okay, I'll football huddle here. Oh.
Without actually using words, I'm going to be casting message. And over the course of about 30 seconds, each of you will hear me say, "This is the power of an Oktras. Powerful illusions disguise what we can really see. If we enter here, we're up against an Oktras bearer."
Can
Maybe
I
we should go.
message back in my mind?
No.
You can reply
Okay.
back.
Oh, you can? With message?
I think so. Can you not?
I thought message was only one way.
Faint or visibly object. This spell can finger most bears. I'll have to reread it. So let's just assume no for
The
now.
target
Let's
and
just-
only the
let's just
target
say
hears the
I
message and
whisper-
can reply in a whisper that only you can hear.
Right,
Okay.
so you can reply
back to me.
But a message only goes to one person, right?
Pretend you
Mhm.
didn't hear this. I'm just gonna say,
So we-
do you think it's the bad ones or the good ones? Because there's good Oktros.
Let's
I
see
don't
here
want to
real
stay to
quick.
find out.
If we suspect it's one of the Orctras, we probably actually do need to get involved.
How many of us
I
are in
mean,
on
that's
this
kind of
conversation?
what we're doing, right?
Tavern's been
I-
messaging
We all
us
heard what
individually.
Tavern said. We
Okay,
didn't
just
hear
lots of messages going everywhere.
Vergintius's reply.
I'm going to say
lots
that
of
he's-
one-way conversations.
At this point,
I'm
I'll
going to
speak
say
out
that
loud.
out
But
loud. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
yeah,
I will
and this'll be-
sigh and then quietly say that out loud. if we
This is-
suspect that there's an Orctras
Powerful.
involved, we probably do need to figure out what's going on here.
What if it's an
This is
ally?
powerful divine magic.
They
We
probably
now need
know
to
we
make
have.
an assumption of what alignment we feel this would be with divine illusion magic.
F.
We're not powerful enough to go up against an Orctras.
What did
We're
they
getting a
know
little
we
bit of feedback
have it?
from someone.
They feel it. Oh, is
The
it me?
trickster.
If you're not hearing it, there's a chance it's you. It's the best way to identify feedback.
Oh, I am hearing it. Okay.
It's probably me then. Let me exit out of the video and back in.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
I'll just invite him back in. That one. Oh, this is going to mess up the
The other way to
cameras.
get rid of it
It's
is
okay.
when you hear it, mute your microphones.
Whoa, my screen is doing stuff because of the tech difficulties earlier. Whoops.
Whoops.
Did I crash it?
No, it's just because we had to do the monitor capture. I can't put Uvu over the thing without everyone seeing Uvu because it's not a window cap. It's doesn't matter.
Technical difficulties. It's okay. Echo's gone though, which is nice. Right.
This
So
could be the
you're now
What was I
trickster.
saying? I was whispering something. I was gonna say, like, what if it's an ally? And they could teach us how to use it. You know? Or maybe it's not an Oktros. Maybe it's just somebody like Buck.
What makes you
I
think Book
appreciate your
isn't an
naivety at
Orctras?
times, Gergintius. But if my assumptions are correct, we're dealing with chaos. Chaos of a kind that, if we suit their will or need, we're safe. But
It seems
if we don't, we're not.
Doesn't it seem a
it seems
bit
somewhat
uncharacteristic
unlikely
of
that-
chaos to civilize goblins?
Yeah, that sounds more like a lawful characteristic. I'm
Unless they're
whispering that.
using it for a larger means.
Well, if we take the chaos that we witnessed in the Ravager, it was chaos in an extremely literal form. There
We're
was
going in there.
no direction at all.
Are we going in, Din?
Well,
I think we are.
I mean, we're just still talking about it, which usually means that we're going in there.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't look like this is a bad idea because they haven't attacked us yet. Or
No,
I don't
it's
think
a
they're going
terrible
to.
idea because we way are not strong enough to fight one of these yet, as we just found out. But it'll be fine. We'll just die now. Now's a good
Why are
time.
we still assuming that they're gonna attack us? I feel like this is a good thing.
Gargantius.
They're not only going to attack us, we're going to walk into the middle of town so that we're surrounded by them, and then they're going to attack us. It's going to be great!
Have the guards come back yet?
Yeah,
we
Yeah, they're
we
waiting on
kind
us.
of stepped away to have an awkward conversation while they waited there with the guide.
Right, Harbeck turns around without saying anything and walks back over to the guards and looks at them
Din follows him.
expectantly.
We're ready for our tour now.
I'll take Harvick's lead.
Are you finished? Are you ready to come in?
Uh-huh.
Aye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
Do you
we're not
mind if I
ready,
ask
but
you
we're
a
coming in anyway.
mind if I ask you a question?
Certainly.
That's directed to the goblins.
Yeah.
Why do you all wear those, is it jewelry around your neck?
We don't wear anything around our necks. And he shows you his neck. Clearly, there's nothing on it.
Do I see anything?
Nope. How long does detect magic last?
10 minutes.
Concentration?
10 minutes. Okay. The band of brilliant divine magic that you saw before is now on their back.
I won't get another
On their
break
back?
until 20 more minutes.
Yeah, on their back.
If you can. If you don't have, you
Just
don't
a
have to.
thin
If you don't
strip.
want to.
On each back.
Well, excuse me, I thought that I had seen something. I was curious about it, but I mean no offense.
That's fine.
Does it appear to be tangible? Like a physical piece or strip? Or is it merely...
You can't really get a sense of depth, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, like, could it be grabbed, or is it...
You can't really tell. It's because of the nature of the aura and the fact that it's not
Right.
a solid object, and you're seeing it through a person, so there's no sense of perspective. There's no way to know.
You know, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your city here.
Sure.
Well, you show
I mean,
us.
do you want to walk and talk, or do you want to stay out
Yeah.
here?
Let's walk and talk.
Okay, then. And they sort of usher
Yeah,
you
you're-
through, and
Freaking me out.
what do you mean?
Din. No, sorry, Din.
What?
You're kind of freaking me out here.
Oh.
I need Din. Real Din.
I am real Din.
Not... Okay, let's go. I trust you,
They
Din.
usher-
If you feel like this is okay to go in here, I will follow you.
The little the goblin sort of ushers you in front of him, and as you're walking down this stone corridor and it turns around a corner, he starts talking about the civilization here. He talks about how the goblins were directionless. They were, a barbaric people only interested in self-serving goals, and how, he was around when the king of the goblins, he first united the other goblins and brought them together in this city, and that since he came along, they've been working together to achieve things much greater than goblins ever have in the past. And he instigated education for the goblins to teach them the importance of knowing how to interact with other races diplomatically instead of always just trying to take what you want, and how they've been able to build a large city under the mountains here, and a home that they can be proud of, and how they no longer have the need to constantly war with the other sentient races, and hope to one day be respected as equals, like the dwarves and the elves.
Who are those first teachers, by the way?
The first
you
teachers?
mentioned, yeah,
Scholars brought in by the Goblin King.
humans?
No other goblins.
How long has your
So there
civilization
were
been here? How many generations ago was this king?
Goblins are longer lived than most people realize. I myself am nearly 300. The civilization, the Goblin King, he first arrived 227 years ago.
In
Wow,
that time,
that's
have you
impressive.
had much contact with the dwarfs that live in the same network of caves down south?
We keep to ourselves. We have an understanding with King Thorum. Well,
Okay.
we had an
He's buddy of
understanding
mine.
with King Thorum. We have an understanding with his son now.
Wait, King Thorum is not the king anymore?
The person
King
that we
Thorum
spoke,
passed
He's been around
dozens
for a
of years
while,
ago.
so yeah.
the person that we talked to was called the Prince. I assume that is the king's
Yeah.
son, the original king's son.
I forgot that part.
So, is there a check that I can roll to determine if I know if what he's saying about goblin lifespans is accurate? That does not sound accurate to me.
History.
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
Which-
You could roll a... Let me pull up the skills list and pick an appropriate skill.
I like history. History is a
Um,
good one.
Probably history, yeah. History would be applicable. What do we got? 23. Okay. You've spent a lot of time in libraries and you've read a lot of books. And there are plenty of books about killing goblins, but almost none of them studying goblins as a race, their customs, their traditions, their lifespans, their breeding cycles, anything like that. Because they're a nuisance. A barbaric race of humanoids that are extinguished by everybody, everywhere, all the time. So little is known. From what you've pieced together, most goblins die very early on in life, butchered by mean-spirited adventurers.
Noble-hearted adventurers.
Well-meaning adventurers.
It's not their fault that the DM kept sending goblins. All right.
Misguided adventurers.
Misguided.
Oh, racism in Dungeons and Dragons.
As he guides you along the tunnels, eventually they start to open up a little bit, and you come across a scene that looks something. A little bit.
Uh-oh. There's a map. Get your dice ready.
Oh, I thought you were
Something
just
a
going to
little
show
like
us
this.
a picture.
Ooh.
Oh, that is
I
cool.
mean, it's a picture.
That is so cool.
As the tunnel turns into a cavern, you see a huge, like, grandiose stone citadel with large towers. There's a lot of construction work going on in the area as well. Whatever's being built isn't finished. And there appears to be housing for hundreds of goblins. And you see plenty of them walking around, all well-dressed, all looking nice and neat. Tabrin, your detect magic is still running. I imagine you're maintaining concentration on it, which extends the duration.
Yeah, definitely.
Every goblin you see has that sliver of light, and also the aura of illusion magic, for reference. And he leads you down a path and towards the center of the city.
Is there a way I could roll like a saving throw or an arcana check to see beyond the illusion? Since I know...
You could
Yeah, I
attempt
can
a saving
see
throw.
it.
Yeah, you could attempt a saving throw, wisdom saving throw.
The craftsmanship of like I mean, how do I want to say this? Like the wall is the fortress looking thing. Like, does it look? Because I've been around dwarves for a while. Does it look inspired by dwarven walls and stuff like that? Like, does it? I mean,
No, it's much more. It's much more natural. Like, while it's been constructed and it's fully constructed, like it's not taking, it's not using the natural structures in the cave, the national stalactites or stalagmites, as like the basis of structures. It still mimics them. It's like towers have been built to mimic them. A young race finding its feet in architecture, perhaps. Tabrin, as you continue to concentrate and try to see through the illusion, you catch glimpses, but you can't be sure that what you're seeing is true. But you catch glimpses, and like the goblins don't appear to be there at all. But then they're back. Whatever kind of magic this is, it's powerful.
So the glimpses are really just them fading out of existence and then back in as I lose that concentration.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll nudge Harbeck, and I'll be like, "Hey, Harbeck, isn't this place like cool? Look at the craftsmanship. I mean, it's almost to like dwarven standards. I'm like clearly impressed by everything around me, and I'm like in awe. And I'm trying to get everyone around me as excited as I am."
So you picked a bad day for Harbeck. He does not buy into excitement today.
The architecture is quite stunning. It's really grandiose, much bigger. Like when you heard Goblin City, you thought, a few small buildings, maybe some dwellings built into the cave walls, not a fortress city built underground in a massive cavernous opening under a mountain. But that's what you're seeing, and it's really impressive and quite grandiose. He leads you in towards the center of the courtyard, and you see a goblin standing there. He's finely dressed, more finely dressed than the soldiers who brought you in, and more finely dressed than most of the people who are around, most of the goblins who are around. And you recognize him. You have had a conversation with this particular goblin. He was the goblin who you discussed terms with when you picked a fight with the goblins the first time around.
Yeah.
You mean when we
I
were
see,
ready to
Oh,
defend
it's-
ourselves the first time around?
Yeah,
Which is the
well,
story
you
I'm
stole their
sticking to.
clothes. Um,
That deception check
After-
is Brieg
Yeah.
pretending to be really happy about this situation while he keeps all of his defenses up.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and I'll bow when we get near the most well dressed goblin, the guy we recognize, and I'll say it's good to see you again. This place is quite amazing. I'm very impressed.
Yes, it is. And it's good to see that you took us up on our offer. We appreciate that. I'm going to take you through to see the king, but before we do that, is there any business you needed to take care of? I'd love to show you some of the wares we have in town.
Sure.
Wares? You trade? This place is
absolutely.
awesome.
All civilized races trade. It's the backbone of strong production and growth. It's been incredibly important.
Brig, you ought to go with
Sounds
Dinny
great.
in charge of her purse.
I could use some. I could use some restocking of my emergency bacon.
We don't want her to go buying any
I
apples.
assume you guys have something close to bacon. We'll see. We'll have a look. See what kind of food you guys sell.
It's
I'll
lunchtime.
toss up a sack of coins up and down, put it back in my pocket.
I'm afraid you're not likely to find the food we eat appetizing. The few travelers who have come through and traded with us have been less than pleased. Our
We're
palates
the
are very different.
travelers. The
But what about the food
Okay.
you drink?
Does he have the same magical aura?
Yes. He certainly does.
All right. Well, maybe a T-shirt or something.
I went to the
I
Goblin City and all I got was this
I
lousy
visited the Goblin
t-shirt.
City. Yeah.
Right.
I heart
Um,
Goblintopia. That's
Any of you going to take him up on the offer? Seriously, though, any of you going to
Yeah. Sure.
look for
Yeah,
anything?
yeah,
Ken
I'm
wants to
just
go
want to see
shopping.
what he has
Yeah.
for sale.
Yeah.
What if he has cool armor? Wait, I'm wearing cool armor. What if he has cool? Wait, I have a cool bow. What if he has fancy swords?
You also have fancy swords.
You also have those.
I also have fancy
Or a
swords.
neat hat.
Maybe I need new. I don't really like wearing shoes.
Hat.
Maybe he
What
has
if he
cool
has? What if
something
they have a
awesome.
cool collar for Adrian?
Okay.
I don't know.
Arian.
He
Adrian. Goddamn.
directs you down one of the main thoroughfares from the center of the keep, down towards what appears to be a thriving marketplace with hordes. I shouldn't use the word horde. With a throng of
That's a
goblins.
racially insensitive word.
With a throng of goblin traders and civilians purchasing and selling wares.
A throng of goblin,
and-
not hordes.
Yeah. The marketplace appears to be like any marketplace in any civilized city you've ever been to before. There are blacksmiths selling armor and weapons, and there's no blacksmiths shoeing horses because they don't have horses. But there are, various vendors claiming to sell potions and tinctures and items for traveling the caves and traversing dangerous areas and all sorts of weird and wonderful trinkets. And a lot of it is stuff that you won't have seen before. Like when you head on over to Harbeck, in particular, you will notice this stall very early on. There is a tinkerer's stall who claims to sell magnificent technological developments created by goblin hands for goblin hands, and he's very proud of his wares. And he shows you a few things, including he pulls out a little silver rod to demonstrate his wares. He's very vocally street performer, sort of salesman style tactics, trying to stand out from the crowd. And he pulls out a small silver pole that's only about the size of the palm of his hand. And when he presses a button on the side, it shoots out in both directions and extends to a 10-foot length, which he then slings between two of the roofs of the stalls and hangs from, guaranteeing that it'll hold under any weight, and so on and so forth. But is anybody keeping an eye out for any kind of items, particular things that they're interested in while they're wandering the market stalls?
I would like to visit both a metal worker, probably someone selling weapons, and a leather worker.
Okay. We'll get that one out of the way first.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, we'll wait and see if anyone else wants to go to the same shops. Does anybody else want to go to a metal worker, weaponsmith, or a
I'm
leather
interested
worker?
in this Tinker Fellow, and I'm just curious about what kind of liquid refreshment they have, and if they have like a chemist or an alchemist or an apothecary or something like that. I want to see their take on that side of things. So those are the things
Okay.
I'm going to see.
I'll go to the leather worker
Okay.
with Breed.
I'll probably follow along wherever Din's at.
Nima?
I'm very. What is that word tourists have where they're like, oh, this, that, scattered? Like,
Okay,
I
so
can't
you're just gonna be
pick
jumping
anything,
from-
so I'm, place to place.
I call it
Ooh, shiny.
ADOS.
Ooh, shiny.
Attention deficit. Ooh, shiny.
Oh, this is great. It's like a snow globe. Oh, look, what is that?
All right.
Do you guys have those tiny
Breed.
collectible spoons?
You find a blacksmith very quickly, one who's selling weapons. It's unusual because, like, the first thing you notice is the weapons are all designed for a small person's hands, which is a welcoming sight for you, because you are so used to dealing with settlements where all the big people are racist against little people and have big people swords and not little people swords and daggers. But even the designs are really interesting because they've maintained a lot of the barbaric forms of the weapons. Like, their daggers are still very spiky, not the straight edge sort of thing that you would see in, like, a human blacksmith's. But they're made from forged steel, not, rusted iron or bronze. It's kind of this weird, like, oxymoron. Yeah. It's kind of strange.
Excuse me. I was wondering if I might ask you a question.
Why, certainly. Was there something you were interested in?
Well, possibly, but first I was wondering if you could help me with something. I'll sling my backpack and dig through there until I find the dagger that was made out of the weird metal that made all the dwarves really angry, and none of them would tell me what it was.
Ooh.
And I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to say, do you happen to have any idea what sort of metal this is?
He sort of studies the iron dagger carefully. May I ask, where did you get this?
Brieg probably remembers the answer to that question.
It was the vampire's
The
house.
basement of the
Oh.
vampire house.
It's a bit of a difficult question to answer. You see, my companions and I are adventurers. We've been to a lot of different exotic locales, and this is something that I picked up in one of them. The exact description of that locale would be a bit difficult to believe, I suspect.
Sounds like an interesting story. You'll have to tell me sometime. The reason I ask is because this is a type of metal that was only forged by... We don't forge it anymore. Not since the Goblin King came along. He sort of eschewed those parts of our tradition, the more barbaric, less savory methods we used to have in war. But this is a type of iron that we used to forge, which was tempered in the blood of our enemies. It's blood iron, typically made from the blood of the humanoids that so many of my ancestors needlessly slaughtered.
Is disturbing. I understand why I got such a negative reaction the last time I asked someone that question. I appreciate your candor.
We're not proud of our past, but we also accept that it was. And
so, can you tell me anything about it? Does it have any properties that I should be looking out for? If I were to accidentally cut myself on it, something that something that I should expect.
Well, the traditions. I've never seen a blade like this work. I myself am not a warrior, and I'm quite young. I never fought with any of the fairer skinned races, but it's said that these weapons captured the life essence of the vigor that was installed in them during the forging process, and that they would help you strike true, that they would thirst for more of the same. I don't know what that means, but perhaps you can work it out. You have to understand, up until recently, we didn't keep much in the way of written history, and these sorts of things were passed down verbally.
I understand, and I greatly appreciate the information that you've been able to provide. I think that for now I'm just gonna stow that back where it was, and I'll put it back in my backpack. So, can you show me what you've got by way of knives? They're my favoured form of defense, daggers, etc.
Absolutely. Defense, yeah.
The best defense is all your enemies being dead, so they can't hurt you.
Do they have anything that is going to be of interest to me?
He shows you around a few sort of display pieces. You know, the kind of thing that they would be sold to somebody who wanted something pretty, something flashy. Okay. And obviously you're not going to bite on a bad blade. It's not something that you're going to be interested in. And he picks up on that. And eventually he goes behind his cabinet and he says, "There's wares that I don't display. A workman's sort of blade, if you understand my meaning, the kind of thing that you don't just sell to common folk. They're quite expensive, but if I dare say so myself, also quite impressive if you'd like to take a look." And he pulls out a leather roll of some beast that you've never seen and displays a series of daggers in some really unusual shapes and some weird metals as well. all of which look very serviceable and interesting.
Do you mind? I'll reach for a couple of them to test the balance and kind of spin them around and see what I can determine.
He wasn't kidding. They are of really high quality, exceptional high quality. These are the same sort of quality you'd expect from dwarven smiths. A couple in particular catch your eye. One of them is heavy and cold, and an almost black color from blade to hilt, which is quite unusual and is clearly balanced for throwing. And another one is the blade, like when all you see is the hilt, and when you pick it up, the blade springs to life in your hand. And by springs to life, I mean it comes out of the hilt.
Okay. How subtle can I be using my ring of identify?
I mean, you could probably, with a sleight of hand check, mostly disguise it, unless this particular person is a magic user and has means to detect the magic being cast.
Okay. So I'm gonna pick up those two that caught my attention and kind of twirl them around and test the balance, and also 25 sleight of hand, because that is as low as I can roll on that particular skill.
Okay.
To try to identify them and see if I can pick up any magical abilities they may have.
Yep, so the bladeless dagger, the one that appears to be mostly about concealment and safety, being able to carry it in a sort of restricted position, is non-magical. It's obviously just the mechanics of it that make it special. But the other one is magical. Abjuration, I believe, or evocation, sorry, is the magic that's tied into it.
Okay. So how much for this pair? Or rather, these two. I understand they're not a pair.
Clearly. I tell you what. Let's say 2,000 gold pieces if you throw in that ancestral weapon of my people. We don't, like I said, we don't forge that kind of thing anymore, and I'd like to have it as a display piece.
I'm a bit weary about parting with it. I understand that it's has some bad implications, and I'd hate to I don't mean to imply that yours are the wrong hands, but when it's with me, I know that it's not going to end up somewhere where it could be put to bad use. Let me think on it. I'll come back.
Okay,
Well,
absolutely.
I'll hand him back over his knives.
And what about your friend there, as he indicates to the ranger?
You in the market for a new blade? Din.
Nope, I want to go see the leather worker.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate
Nima,
your
can you
help.
roll me a d20? And we'll do some of Harbeck's stuff. Harbeck.
Here's your d20. Oh, that is a 7. Lucky number 7.
Okay.
So I was going to go talk to the tinker first.
Right. You approach his stall as he finishes displaying off the extendable pole thing. And he retracts it with a little bit of difficulty. It doesn't go away nice and easy. It's clearly not perfect, but it's something at least. And he says, "Not often we see a dwarf in these parts. What can I do for you?"
I just looked at my clock. Should we make a quick cut?
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. Come back and join us in the next episode, which will be in 3 minutes on Twitch or when it goes up on YouTube, and find out what Llama's response is. Talk about a cliffhanger. We'll see you next time, guys. See you shortly.